Hello, welcome back to MANCINIMA. Now this is a MANCINIMA special this week. What we're going to be taking a look at is characters who have been played on the big screen by multiple different actors. That might sound a little bit confusing, but hopefully you'll understand it as we get into it. But before we get started, if you can do the usual thing for me, if you can hit the like button, that'll be absolutely fantastic. If you can subscribe to the channel, that'll be even better. And if you can hit the notification bell, that'll tell you when I've done a new video. What we're talking about is characters who have been portrayed on the big screen, and only the big screen, by multiple different actors over the years. And we'll start off with one of the most famous ones, which is Batman. Of course, Batman has been played on the big screen in 1966 by Adam West. He was played later on in 1989 by Michael Keaton. Then we had Val Kilmer taking over from Michael Keaton. We had George Clooney taking over from Val Kilmer. Christian Bale came along later on. And then we had Ben Affleck and, of course, most recently, Robert Pattinson. Now, if I was to choose a Batman out of that lot, I just want to choose my favourite. So my favourite was Christian Bale. The reason I like Christian Bale is because I thought he was a more grounded Batman. I thought he was more of a threat to the villains. When he turned up, you know, they had a damn right to be scared of this character walking the streets. He was tough, he was nasty, he had a great backstory. He really put the fear into the villains, which is what Batman is all about. The reason Batman is out there is because he's to put the fear into these villains. He wanted to scare them the way that the Bat scared him when he was a child. So for me, Christian Bale did that. I also liked his duality as Bruce Wayne as well. I thought he was believable as kind of this playboy character who had this big company, had all this wealth, and wanted to go around and kind of lounge and have these parties and get drunk and kind of be with the ladies and stuff like that. So yeah, I really did believe in Christian Bale as Batman. I thought he was the most perfect portrayal of that character. Michael Keaton I thought was okay. I thought he did an okay Batman, but his Bruce Wayne was a little bit too goofy for me. I didn't believe that he would be capable of running a company. He just seemed a little bit skittish. I didn't like that. Adam West was great back in the day, wasn't he? Back in the 1960s, he was fun with all the colourful villains and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, you know, if I had to make my choice, if I had to say, right, you can have one Batman out of all of those Batmen, Christian Bale is my Batman. Moving on to another DC superhero now, Superman, of course, one of the biggest superheroes in the world. Been played again by multiple different characters. We've had Christopher Reeve, we've had Brandon Routh and Henry Cavill. Those are on the big screen. Like I said, we're not really dipping into the TV screen ones. We're not dipping into people like Dean Cain and people like that. What we're going to be doing is taking a look at, like I say, the ones who have made an impact on the big screen. So let me choose a Superman that I've seen on the big screen. And of course, the only one that I can really choose is Christopher Reeve. I thought he did an absolutely beautiful job of that part. And in fantastic movies that are very, very rewatchable today. Henry Cavill was a little bit too dark. His Superman was a little bit too dark. He got a little bit too moody. Again, great actor, and given the right script and the right director, he could have done absolutely superb in the role. Brandon Routh was okay. Again, he was given a not so great script, and although he was a superb Superman, all of them can't beat Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve is the most ideal Superman. The way he played that duality, the Clark Kent, you know, the goofy Clark Kent with the glasses and the stumbling over things and the gee, Miss Lane, and you know, putting the glasses back on. And then his other role as Superman himself, which was a stand-up, strong character. I thought he was absolutely superb. So for me, for my money, Christopher Reeve is my Superman. Moving on to some Marvel characters now. And now I know I'm going to get a little bit of stick for this one, but I'm going to stick by my word because this movie did open at the cinema before it went on to television. And we're talking about The Incredible Hulk. We're talking about the Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno Incredible Hulk movie. So the origin movie, of course, where he takes the gamma dose and has the car accident and changes and stuff like that. That's the movie that went to, sorry, that's the if you like, the movie version that went to the big screen. So I'm counting that. So we had that one. We also had Edward Norton as the Incredible Hulk in the kind of the pre-MCU kind of movie. You also had Eric Bana in Ang Lee's version of Hulk. And we've most recently had Mark Ruffalo as the MCU version of the Hulk. So if I had to choose a Hulk out of that lot, who would I choose? My choice has got to be Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno. Now, I know that Lou Ferrigno can only embody him in like a man-sized body, and you can't really get that great CGI comic book look that you get with the later movies. But Lou Ferrigno for me is the Incredible Hulk, and Bill Bixby is, he was called David Banner in the series rather than Bruce Banner. I don't really know why they did that. But yeah, the moments when Bill Bixby gets angry and he turns around and he looks over his shoulder and he's got those green contact lenses in, and you can feel the rage brewing within him, and you can feel the transformation taking place, and you can see it physically as they rip the shirts and the muscles burst out and the shoes split apart, and you feel like he's actually transforming into the Incredible Hulk, into the Lou Ferrigno Incredible Hulk. That for me is the absolutely ideal version of that character. Mark Ruffalo, yeah, he's okay, but I don't like things like now we've got Professor Hulk where he's too brainy. I wanted Rage Hulk, you know. Mark Ruffalo also, I don't think Mark Ruffalo can get angry, do you? I think you could stand there and poke him with a stick for about 6 hours and that guy just would not get angry. I thought it was quite funny in the Avengers where he says, I'm always angry. I well, you don't look it, do you? Edward Norton was okay, but yeah, you know, I've made my choice. Lou Ferrigno, Bill Bixby, the ideal Incredible Hulk for me. On to another Marvel character now with Captain America. Now you may think only Chris Evans has played Captain America on the big screen, but that's not quite true. He was also played in 1990 by Matt Salinger. Now that movie was produced very cheaply by, I think it was Golan Globus, who went on to become Canon Films or something like that. I'd have to check that. But yeah, it was definitely at the cinema. It went to the cinema in 1990. It was released the year after Michael Keaton, Tim Burton's Batman came out, so there was this rush to get these superhero movies out on the big screen, and certain people own certain Marvel licenses, and Captain America was the first one rushed out onto the big screen. Of course, then later on in the years we had Captain America played by Chris Evans. So if I had a choice between Matt Salinger's Captain America and Chris Evans' Captain America, of course I've got to go with Chris Evans, because basically nobody else has portrayed the character as well on the screen. Matt Salinger's version was okay, it's a little bit goofy, it was let down by the production values, although it did have the Red Skull in the movie. The same as, of course, with Captain America the First Avenger. But yeah, Chris Evans every time. I think he portrays an absolutely superb Captain America. Very stand-up, very believable, very tough. Yep, he's my Captain America. But he is also my Human Torch, because I thought he did a fantastic job as the Human Torch, which of course at this moment hasn't been portrayed by anybody else on the big screen, but I think I kind of prefer him as the Human Torch over Captain America, and I was kind of sad when he had to give that part up for the Captain America part. However, we're talking about Captain America, so Chris Evans, my favourite Captain America on the big screen. So this next one's going to be a little bit controversial. As you may or may not have guessed, I am a huge Spider-Man fan. Not that I sit around in Spider-Man t-shirts or anything. So Spider-Man has been portrayed on the big screen by a number of different characters over the years. He is my absolute favourite superhero out of every superhero I've ever read. The character means so much to me, I won't go into details why that is, because I'm very, very invested in it. I care very much about the character, I care very much about how he's portrayed on the big screen, so this is an important one for me. So my first sighting of Spider-Man on the big screen was of Nicholas Hammond in 1978 in the Spider-Man movies that came out then. We had Spider-Man, and then I think the following year there was Spider-Man Strikes Back, and then Spider-Man the Dragon's Challenge. I might be wrong with how they were released year-wise, but they were released in that order. Spider-Man Strikes Back and Spider-Man the Dragon's Challenge, which were all basically episodes of the TV series elongated and put back into the cinema screen, so they do count because they were shown on the cinema. So Nicholas Hammond was my first Spider-Man. Of course, around 2002 we had the announcement that there was going to be a Spider-Man movie made by Sam Raimi. Now I love Sam Raimi, I love his Evil Dead movies. Very interested to see what he would do with those. But I was disappointed in the casting choices. Tobey Maguire, initially I'd seen him in Pleasantville, really didn't see him as Peter Parker at all. Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane, didn't understand why Mary Jane was in the movie this early, because she wasn't the first of Spider-Man's girlfriends. And of course Willem Dafoe is the Green Goblin. Now he's the only one that I did agree with. I thought he would be great as Norman Osborn and as the Green Goblin. So yeah, I didn't really kind of have much feeling towards this movie that was coming out. And of course when I went to see the movie, I didn't like Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker Spider-Man. I thought he was too wet, I thought he was crying all the time, he was too drippy in the way that he spoke. I didn't like the organic web shooters. Spider-Man for me is his own genius. He creates that stuff, he creates his web shooters, he creates little things like his mask and his costume and stuff like that. So yeah, didn't like the way that Tobey Maguire played the character. I didn't like the way that he was represented. Really didn't like Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane. Mary Jane for me was always the party girl, the fun time girl. She was a model, supermodel if you like. She was an actress. Kirsten Dunst just didn't portray any of those parts very well at all. Again, she was too drippy, too crybaby. And then we had, I think 2012, we had the Amazing Spider-Man series, which was the reboot, starring Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy. Yeah, I thought that was great. And then we had the Tom Holland version for the MCU, which arrived, I think it was around 2016, 2017, I'm not exactly sure on that one. Tom Holland was okay as Spider-Man. He's a little bit too young. I was calling him Spider-Boy when it was first announced. He was too young, didn't like Ned Leeds. Ned Leeds is not the character that's in the comic book. MJ, again, nothing like the MJ in the comic book, shouldn't be in the story this early in the day. Spider-Man was too made by Tony Stark. He wasn't his own person, he didn't invent his own things. He was basically handed it by Tony Stark. Here, go and do this. Yeah, okay. They didn't really show his genius, they didn't show his scientific know-how. So if I'm looking across all the Spider-Man movies, the one that I've loved the most is Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker and the Amazing Spider-Man. People have been saying that Andrew was a little bit too cool for school as Peter Parker, maybe a little bit, you know, with the skateboard and stuff. But he portrayed him perfectly. He was his own genius. He had a fantastic relationship with Aunt May and, of course, Uncle Ben, played by Sally Field and Martin Sheen, of course. They were my favourite two, Aunt May and Uncle Ben as well. I just really enjoyed the movie. I loved the lizard. The only thing I didn't like about it in the initial Amazing Spider-Man movie was the costume. I thought they got the costume wrong, but they rectified that in Amazing Spider-Man 2, but then they got the story kind of... yeah, I think Andrew did an absolutely perfect part. I loved his sarcasm. I mean, the scene where he's in the car and he's being carjacked and he's just sat in the back seat and the guy says, "What are you, a cop?" And he goes, "Do I look like a cop in a red and blue skin-tight outfit?" So the fact that he snaps back and he's witty and funny and he's got the Spider-Man moves down pat. I mean, every time you see him swinging or climbing or wall crawling and stuff like that, to me, I'm just seeing the comic book come to life before my eyes. So for me, Andrew Garfield is absolutely perfect Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Moving on to the king of all the super spies is, of course, James Bond. Now, this is a difficult one, isn't it? Because every single actor that's been James Bond has brought something unique to the role. And you're going to hate me, but I can't choose a James Bond. I absolutely love every actor who's played James Bond. I loved Sean Connery. I mean, I grew up with Roger Moore's movie. I was too young to see Sean Connery's at the cinema. But I grew up with the Roger Moore movies on the big screen. Loved him. I loved Timothy Dalton when he took over. I loved Pierce Brosnan. And of course Daniel Craig. The only one I didn't care too much for was George Lazenby. But, you know, the guy only had one movie, so I'm going to give him a bit of a break. He only had the one movie to prove himself. So yeah, I can't choose an actor for James Bond because I've loved every actor who's played James Bond. Even George Lazenby. I thought George Lazenby was great in his movie. I would like to have seen what he would have done had he gone on for a bit longer. But yeah, every single actor who's played James Bond has been great, and I'm looking forward to see who they choose next, and hopefully I will love their movies too. There we go, we got through that lot, didn't we? There's multiple other characters that have been played by actors over the years. I mean, there's Sherlock Holmes, Dracula, other ways we can go with this. We might do another video in the future. If you let me know down in the comments if that's what you want to see, then I'll come back and do another one. Please let me know. Please let me know who your favourite actor is, who portrayed your favourite character. So who's your favourite Batman, Spider-Man? Let me know in the comments, that'd be great. Please like this video, like I said before, really does help us out. Hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and subscribe to the channel, please. That really does help us. I hope you've enjoyed this little spin-off. It's not a movie review, but just something a little bit of fun I thought I'd have with this one. And I hope you'll come back and see us all soon. Take care.